All right, it's about noon, so we're going to go ahead and announce our shop project ag mechanics, woodworking, and metal projects. Had some great projects turned in this year, and I'm going to go ahead and start with the class winners for each. We have two different categories. We have metal and woodworking, and then two different classes in each category. So I'm going to start with our small metal projects, and our third place in small metal goes to Jose Gonzalez. Second place in small metal projects is Reynaldo Narvaez. And our first place in small metal goes to Giuliano Riviere. And now we'll move into our large metal projects. Our second place goes to Zebra Benavides. And our first place goes to Chaney McCollum. Now we will move into our champion in our metal division, our reserve. All right, we're going to do our champion metal. Our reserve champion metal project goes to Giuliano Modier. And our champion metal project is going to go to Chaney McCollum. Now we're going to move into our wood category. Our small wood project, first place, goes to Jeremiah Gonzalez. And our large wood project, first place, goes to Donovan Nance. Now our championships in our wood division, our reserve wood goes to Donovan Nance. And our champion woodworking project goes to Jeremiah Gonzalez. All right, now moving into our overall grand champion projects. I'm going to start with our overall reserve champion, and that goes to Giuliano Modier. And our overall grand champion goes to Chaney McCollum. All right, let's give everybody a round of applause one more time for all their hard work. There's some great projects out there. I know they get to sell some of them tomorrow, so y'all be sure and check them out. And come support our kids tomorrow in our sale. Thank you, guys. We're going to get kind of things moved around probably here in the next 10 or 15 minutes. We're going to get started with our goat show. So, Class 1 goats, you guys be getting ready. All right, exhibitors, this year we do have a photographer on site that is going to be not only taking pictures of your winning animals and projects, but also going to be taking pictures during the show. They are set up right behind the announcer stand. Outside, there's a little trailer. You can go out there and look at your pictures. You can also go to the website that's called Memories on Main Street. They've been here yesterday and they're going to be here today and also for the sale. So if you would like to order pictures, not only of your animals at the end in the winning spot, but also throughout the show, you can go back there and see them, and they've been doing a great job, and we really appreciate them coming to our show this year. Also, if you have loved ones, family members that could not be here today to watch the show, we are live streaming it on the Catula I.S.D. YouTube channel. So if you would like to let your family members or anybody that's interested in viewing the show online, you can tell them to go to the Catula I.S.D. YouTube channel, and we will start at the beginning of the goat show and show it through its entirety. Market goats, our lightweight goats, ready to come in. Go ahead and start lining up. We are ready to get started with our goat show. Just one quick announcement that I've been asked by the board of directors to announce in the barn. Due to the ongoing pandemic, our main concern continues to be the health and safety of our community, attendees, exhibitors, volunteers, and all involved in the LaSalle County Junior Livestock Show. The LaSalle County 4-H and FFA Junior Livestock Show Board of Directors, in conjunction with LaSalle County Assets, will enforce the wearing of masks and wristbands at the Livestock Show. In addition, all guidelines set forth by LaSalle County 4-H and FFA Junior Livestock Show directors will be enforced. We encourage the public to continue to support this endeavor. We'd like to thank everybody involved for making this show happen, and all the powers that be that allowed us to have this show. So we greatly appreciate everybody's cooperation and support here in LaSalle County to make sure that this show is a success. Once again, I'd like to introduce our judges for today. Our showmanship judge is going to be Mr. John Lanier out of Somerset, Texas. He's a retired ag teacher and father for 32 years. And most of his time as an ag teacher was spent in Jordanton, Texas. He was also a member of the Texas A&M livestock judging team while he attended college there. We greatly appreciate him coming out and supporting our kids and helping us out on our show today. Our livestock judge is Mr. Kyle McManus. Kyle grew up in the Rio Grande Valley region of Texas. His family was strongly involved in registered Brahman cattle. He grew up showing Brahman cattle along with show steers and market lambs. He received his bachelor's degree in agricultural science and master's degree in animal science from Texas A&M University, Keysville. While receiving his bachelor's degree, Kyle was a member of the collegiate livestock judging team. Kyle currently serves as county extension agent in Oasis County. He is the former county extension agent for both Bee and San Patricio counties. His livestock judging responsibilities have included Laredo International Fair, the Live Oak County Fair, South Texas Agricultural Roundup, Goliad, Duval, Clayburgh, Jim Wells, and Victoria counties. Additionally, he has judged the Rio Grande Valley Livestock Show, Breeding Heifer Division, the South Texas San Gertrudis Hot Dirt Show, the Rio Grande Valley San Gertrudis Association Breeding Show, as well as the Eastern Idaho State Fair. Kyle says it's a great honor and a privilege to be here and appreciates the opportunity to work with the 4-H and FFA members. Thank you, Kyle, once again for showing up. Let's give him a second. Rachel, once again, this is Class 1 of Market Goats. I'd also like to introduce our superintendents for our goat show this year, Ernesto Galan, David Wolf, and Mena Salceda. Our ribbon donors this year are Tim, Vicki, and Rainey Hanks. Grand Champion Banner donor is David Wolf. And Reserve Champion Banner donor is David Wolf. Our Grand Champion Buckle donors are Ernesto and Lydia Galan. Our Reserve Champion Buckle donors are Clint and Jana Wolf. Our Senior Showmanship Buckle is donated by Ranch Equipment and Hardware. And our Junior Showmanship Buckle is donated by Clint and Jana Wolf. We thank them for all their support, and without them, this definitely would not happen.
Well, it's a good day here in LaSalle County. We're having a livestock show and started the day off yesterday with a lot of fun, sorting some hogs and some chickens. And now we're getting into some goats and later on I believe some cattle. And so always a great day when we get youth in the show ring and we get to have a stock show. Starting off our lightweight goats here, these goats there's a lot of variabilities out here, and we're going to start with the knucklehead of the group. This one here wants to challenge you just a little bit in terms of getting shown, but we relax and take a breath. We can get him set, hopefully he'll behave. We're just getting a little bit jammed up on him and just relax. It's okay. We'll get him set. I'll take my time to get him where he needs to be, and this guy needs to be the top of this class here. For me, he's one that puts enough parts and pieces together. He's a bit extreme in terms of the way that he's made out his chest. I want to clean him up through there. I'd like to make him taller at the point of his shoulder and give you more of that wow factor. But when we have the lineup that we have here with some that are a little more greener and need a little more days on feed, the shape and the dimension that this guy's got, when he does want to cooperate with her and she's able to get into him, he gets enough level down his top. It's right behind his shoulder. It gets a little more peaked for me. He gets a little taller in his blade and pushes up, wants to drop and then come back over a hip. So I would like to just level him out and lift him up off that front end just to give him that extra wow factor. I love him out of his hip. I love that shape and dimension that he's got. And to have that much product in him, he gets away from me and goes away from me with the right kind of step down at the ground in terms of base width. I just want to really kind of change him there on his front end in terms of the way that he's made him. He wants to just float just a bit or drop just a bit and taper and then come on up. The one that suits me the best in terms of a silhouette is here in two. This guy here, if we had run him and exercised him and firmed him up, we could get in front of the class winner because he's got all the design and look that I'm looking for. This one is a baby was probably killer. This one just gets too soft, young man. We get too soft and plain. You're doing a good job of getting him shown. There's just not enough descriptive muscle. He's not firm and hard to handle for me today. We kind of got past our prime in this guy here, but in terms of a baby and design, that's the one I like. I love him as he came in. I thought we did a great job of trying to get him shown. But he's one for me that I just want to just firm him up. He's just too soft to the handle. We can do that and freshen him up. That one there could be competitive. The next one's got a great handle. That's what gets this one up here. The look from a profile, the extension on his front 1/3. That goat for me is one that's really attractive. It needs a shot more bone to go underneath. He's got a really good firm handle. I think Man's done a great job of feeding this one. There's just not as much muscle, young man, not as much bone in this goat as the two in front of him, so we got to go 3. The pink goat is one that I thought would rival our class winner in terms of design and the way that they're made. Those two are ones that I thought are packed quite well, but they're also ones for me that as I study him and we get our hands on him, we just let him kind of get a little bit down in his chest. We let him get off. I just want to be able to get a little more aggressive with him and get him shown, because that one there, I love him in terms of just standing off and looking at him. He's really clean and attractive, kind of has that giraffe neck and a little more extended. For that base width of the goat, he's still attractive, but he's one that for me just isn't fresh enough to the handle today to work him up any further in the class. The next two goats here, the young man in blue and red hat, these are both goats that look similar. They're really long and attractive. I like that extension in front end. They both are long spine. The one that the young man's next there in blue, he's got one that just handles a little fresher today. When I put my hands on him, his muscle a little firmer in the handle, bigger in terms of when I put my hands on him, my hand meets with a bigger rack in him and bigger loin. That's the advantage of those two there, but both of them have been built quite nicely, and the young man's doing a nice job in terms of getting them shown. The one there that the young man's got in red just gets right there from our rack and short loin, that last rib. We get too soft and too plain, and you just stout him up just a bit more, but a real attractive goat. This goat kid for me, I thought was, when she walked in, I thought she may get up here towards the top end of the class. She's a little light in terms of footwork and bone work, but I love her in terms of her rib and body. She's so full-fronted, and I just was really drawn into her, but there's just not enough muscle in this one, young man. We got to get a little more aggressive and get her shown to get that muscle to pop. But when we study her, there's not as much curvature to the forearm, there's not as much rack in her, not as much loin in her as the ones in front of her, so she's got to fall there. But I thought she's very, very attractive and stylish goat kid that we can get in the class. The next two are ones for me that just simply don't have the shape and dimension. They're both got a really good handle. They fed them well. I think they do a good job of getting them presented. There's just not as much natural muscle down their top, not as much bone work in them to be as competitive as the ones in front of them. A nice set of goats to start off with. Great kids. Give them all a round of applause for a job well done.
All right, our placings in class. Come on, mark your goats. First place goes to Brooklyn Gensler. Second, Ronaldo Narvaez. Third place goes to Fidel Llanes. Fourth, Joel Llanes. Fifth goes to Carlos Ayala. Sixth goes to Matthew Manuela. Seventh goes to Elijah Bryant. is Rachel Narvaez, and ninth to Hector Munoz the second. All right, class 2, you guys are in the show ring next. Our class 2 exhibitors are going to be Ruben Ayala, Cesar Garcia, Joaquin Gonzalez, Lorena Munoz, Danae Garcia, Genesis Holland, Reynaldo Narvaez, Eli Renteria, Danica Walker, Maggie Alba, and Rachel Narvaez. Would also like to remind our exhibitors and parents, if tomorrow at the sale, if your animal makes the sale and the buyer wishes to have the animal processed, you will need to have your animal back up here at 9 o'clock on Monday morning. That way it can be hauled to the processor. Once again, in the case that you make the sale and the person that buys your animal wishes to have it processed, we will have a trailer available to haul the animal to the processor at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. I would also like to remind everybody once again that our show is being live streamed for those that cannot be here due to social distancing and restrictions. That it is being live streamed on the Catula I.S.D. YouTube channel. So go look up the Catula I.S.D. YouTube channel and you can send that link to your loved ones or folks that would wish to see the show. It is being live streamed right now.
All right, as we get into this next class that goes and bring this group on around, this is, we're starting to crank up the heat a little bit, but even with that, we got one that kind of dominated this class. This goat for me is tremendous in terms of rack and loin. Talk about one that when you get in right behind him, the point of his front shoulder, all the way through that last rib, into his loin, into his hip. He is consistent and uniform as you can find out here. He's super fresh and firm to the handle. One that for me is just tremendous in terms of his top shape. One that he's got an ultra cool rib as well. One that I want to change in two particular areas. I'd like to see him a little more extended and attractive at his front 1/3, with maybe a little longer neck for that wow factor. I would definitely want to shot more bone in this guy here just to power him up. He's got a good balance, but he's just so powerful on his top end of his skeleton that I just want to give him a shot more bone. But he is so balanced and so cool, yet handles so tremendously that you just can't not use him in this class here, that was an easy decision. Young man in 2 and 3 and 4, these goats here can flip-flop if you wanted to. The one that follows the suit in terms of the style and design of our class winner is this blonde-necked goat. He's got the advantage of that front 1/3, and if we can get that thing to walk and get him to move and walk as elegant as the class winner, he possibly could rival it because he's so full in terms of his extension, he just won't give us a good look. He wants to drag around the ring, wants to get those feet underneath him, so we got to get him to move. This guy here's got a cool type of muscle shape. And man, he just gets a little lean. I'd like to feed him a bit more, get a little more fat in him. He gets some cover because right in his hip loin, he gets too hard for me, hard doing. If that goat in front of him, you can see just a smooth. We don't have such a smooth transition, but that's the wow factor goat that I was looking for and love his design. We just don't have the same kind of handle and not the same kind of movement around the ring. That's a neat one. Talk about a great handle, the young man in yellow. This guy works hard at getting it done. He does a great job of getting this goat shown. Sometimes we miss those front feet and get him under go forward, but that one there handles tremendous. He just doesn't have the true, real, discrete muscle shape as the 2 in front of him. But that one there's been fed well. Young man, you do a great job of getting him shown. That's as far as I can work you up. But that one there, as we start comparing, that one there has got a better handle. Probably not as much muscle as the right in behind him, the 2 in behind him, but it handles much better, has been fed well, and so I compliment you. That's as far as we can work you, but a nice, really balanced kind of a goat there in 3. 4 and 5 are my troubled goats. These 2 goats here, I absolutely love when they walk in the ring. They've got the style and design that I'm looking for. When we get our hands on them, I'm talking both at the same time because it's the same thing. Both of them have issues. I want this one fed more. He gets too hard and dry, young man. We are lean, and we need to get more fat on that guy there because if we had the kind of condition on him as 1 and 2, we'd be way further up in the class. That one there is tremendous in terms of muscle shape, in terms of hip, in terms of load and bone work. I love him. We're just too lean to go. We got to get him more condition to get him working on it for the class. One that was probably awesome as a baby. The next one for me, same style of kind of goat. We get him too soft, young man. I love him when he walked in. I thought, dang, this is probably going to be one that will rival up there towards the end. Super big bone and stout. He just gets too soft, especially from the last rib back is where that loin gets really soft. And we got to just freshen him up and make him firmer to the handle, and that one there could be more competitive because as a baby, he probably too was really neat. I love his fundamental basics. We just get too plain in terms of muscle shape today, too soft. The next one here is one that needs to be, I thought was neat in terms of look and style. This one's got a ton of shape and dimension in him. We just need to feed him more. We need to push this one, get a little more body conditioning because he's a little raw down his top. We don't have as much condition as we need to, not as much gluten in him. But from a standpoint of fundamentals, that one's cool and attractive. Got a big foot underneath him, really long spine. I like that one. Just feed him a little more and we can get him up further in the class. The next set of goats that are down here in the end, the next 5 goats for me, they're all goats that for me, I think that they're all really stylish. They just, all of them have some look. They've all done a great job of feeding them, especially the next 3 ones that have some good cutability, which means they've got a good muscle and fat ratio. They just don't have as true natural muscle in them as the ones in front of them. The last 2 goats for me just get way too soft. We're probably past our prime. We don't have as much true real muscle power in them. So we just got to either exercise them or run them more to be able to get them to have that true real firmness in them as the other goats in the class. But a nice set of goats, tremendous from the top end. Let's give all these great kids a round of applause for that. Well done.
All right, our placings in class 2 is goats. First place goes to Danica Walker. Second place is Bruno Ayala. Third place is Eli Renteria. Fourth, Rafa Garcia. Fifth is Renato Navarre. Sixth is to Maggie Alvar. Seventh is to Rachel Morales. Eighth is Joaquin Gonzalez. Ninth, Selena Garcia. 10th, Elena Munoz. And 11th, Dennis Salle. All right, class 3 of goats. You guys be getting lined up. I know you're fixing to come in the ring. At class 3, our exhibitors in class 3 of heavy medium weight goats are Carlos Ayala, Ruben Ayala, Raylene Ayala, Viviana Nieto, Bailey Walker, Julissa Cordova, Derek Garcia, Adrian Yanes, Amanda Renteria, and Eric Munoz. This is class 3 of market goats. Once again, since we're about halfway through our road show, the Memories on Main Street photography folks are here. So if you would like to have pictures of your animal, doesn't matter if you won grand or last place, you will take pictures in front of the LaSalle County banner, and you've also been taking pictures all throughout the show, so go check them out. You can order pictures from her here, and you can order them through the website, so go check them out. The website, sorry. Oops. Giving you more credit. Also, exhibitors, once again, I'd like to let everybody know about the sale tomorrow. Once again, if your animal makes a sale and your buyer would like to have it processed, you have to bring your animal back up on Monday morning at 9 o'clock so we can haul into the processor. If your buyer would like to process your animal, it is your responsibility to bring them back up here at 9 o'clock on Monday morning.
start off with two goats that I think are really cool in terms of type and kind. Both of them have some variations, and as you can see, we struggled a bit on trying to figure out where we need to be. We start with one maybe a little more knucklehead in terms of getting him out on the ring. One that for me, I'd like to see his clip job get to the hawk and get to the knee. We left too much hair on him, so that throws off a bit. And so I'm trying to work through that and give the young man as fair of a shot as he deserves out here. But we need to be able to clip him and get to that knee and give a little more leg and extension, because when you do that, it'll show he's more elevated than maybe he really is. And so a little cleaning job there on the feet. But this one here for me, as we walk that one around the ring, that one is just absolutely home run in terms of look and design. Young man, I don't know that you know how good of a goat you got, but let me tell you, you got a good one. This one here, as we study him in terms of his leg, in terms of where he's at on his chest, he's so uniform and balanced all the way through, a tremendous rib. I love him out of his hip. It's when we get him on the walk, and when he will walk for us, that we can get him to go and he shows off and he becomes that show goat. He's one that for me, I'd like to see him a little firmer, and at times we get into him and get it, and at times we don't. And so that's where we can kind of sway just a bit. But as we get in there and get our hands on him, we need to get into his chest and push a little firmer. But that one there has a ton of muscle for me. Right behind this one of his shoulder is where he wants to get the softest for me, and I want to just fresh him up just a nickel. But when we put him on the move, that's where we excel out this ring, and we go ahead and get into the one hole. The two goat for me, I love him in terms of handle. There's not a better handling goat out here for me. He's got a tremendous rack and tremendous loin. It's our transition, young ladies. We get out of into our loin, into our hip. He wants to get tight. He wants to roach up right at that last rib up high. He wants to roach just ever so slightly, and then he wants to get underneath himself when he goes. And when we put him on the move, the more stylish one, the more athletic one is the one that we use there. But two goats that I really like in terms of how we fed them, two that I like in terms of how we get them shown, but the one has the advantage in terms of just structural soundness and design from the last rib back, and has a little more added wow factor. He's a little more athletic when we get him on the move. We've got to get a little more aggressive and get him shown, though, young man. But two good quality goats there. The 1 and 3, one that caught my attention right at the gate, young man. But this one here, as we get our hands on him, he's got to have more condition. It's too lean. We get into just too dry for me as I get my hands on him. We need more cutability. We need more cover in him. If we can do that, that one rivals those two, because he's sound and he's functional. He's got a big old forearm. He's love his rib. I love the design of this goat. I love his extension out of his neck and his levelness of his top. We just don't have enough cover on him to go with the cutability of the muscle that he's got. So I want to change him there. The next goat's got a great handle, great cover. She's done a great job of feeding this one. This one kind of the same as our goat in 2. He didn't have as much muscle as the ones in front of him, but he wants to roach and get out of his top. And she did a good job of lifting him, but I want to keep those goats kind of down and stretched, and he just won't level out that top. On the walk or when he's riding, he wants to roach. And so I just want to level him out of his top and tie him in better in that hip point junction. This one here in the blonde hip neck goat, for me, is one that I love in terms of look from a profile. There's just not enough of him, young man. There's not enough bone work. There's not enough muscle in him. I want to scout him up to be able to go with the look that he's got. The next two goats are goats that are a little more, as we study them, they get a little bit piecey for me. The painted neck goat is one that's really attractive from a profile, big-footed. One that gets real tight in the hip loin. One that for me, as we study him over the rib, he gets too tight as well. I want to give him some more body condition so that we don't just come off that loin and go right down to a dry rib. So we got to just get a little more body cover on that one. This one here just gets too high in his back and top. I want to level him out just a bit. And the last 3 goats all just don't have enough muscle and bone to be as competitive with the goats in front of them. A really nice set of goats, 2 real good ones on the top end, and some excellent kids. Let's give them all a round of applause for a job well done.
All right, our places in class 3 are going to go like this. First place goes to Carlos Ayala. Second place is Bailey Walker. Third is Ruben Ayala. Fourth goes to Amanda Ventanilla. Fifth is Adrian Yanis. Sixth goes to Rylan Ayala. Seventh is Eric Munoz. Eighth, Derek Garcia. Ninth is Yana Nieto. 10th is Julissa Cordova. All right, we are going to move into our final class, class 4 of market goats. You guys can either get them lined up and bring them on in the ring. As we're getting our class 4 goats lined up, our exhibitors in this class are going to be Jalen Del Toro, Jennison Holland, Carlos Alba, Raylene Ayala, Danica Walker, Amanda Renteria, Bailey Walker, Kim Malden, Tristan Miranda, Destin Miranda, and Ernesto Consuegra Jr. Once again, I'd like to remind exhibitors, I know this is the only class that we have it in, so if you are showing an animal for somebody else and it is not your animal, please be sure to either take off your exhibitor number or turn it around. That way we know you are not showing your animal, you're showing for somebody else.
There's several outside.
while they're going through our judging in this last class, we want to remind our other 3 class first and second place winners. If you guys can have your votes ready, that way we can go straight into our grand champion drive. So our first and second place votes from our previous 3 classes, you guys can get ready as well.
All right, as we get into this heavyweight class, 2 that rise to the top pretty quickly, simply from the standpoint of not just standing off on the side and a show ring appeal, but also from a cutability standpoint. Heavyweights, as we get on down, we're getting to the point where these goats are getting too fat for me, too high cutability, requiring too much retail trim. just getting past their prime. These two are very, very fit. These two are very, very fresh to the handle. The one that wins it, there's just more to him. He's got a tremendous amount of base width to him. There's more forerib and transition out of that last rib back into his hip. There's more there as well. He's fresher all the way from the point of his front shoulder all the way to his hip. You just really appreciate the amount of mass and depth of loin and depth of rack that he's got. He gets out and moves really well for me. He's so clean through his chest. And he's really level through that hip. I like that one quite a bit, especially for a heavyweight. I get extremely critical on the groups up here where we're at, where we need to be, but that one there suits me quite well. He handles more like those, like a light heavy or a middleweight in terms of trimness. That one there's a beast in terms of muscle shape, in terms of real muscle, in terms of functionality of structural soundness, in terms of joints. He's really designed well. The cool one, the neat one from stepping off from a profile is the one that's in 2. This one's really cool in terms of rib. There's just not enough on him today. This one that needs a little more finishing condition. He wants to get a little hard in his hip point for me. I want to freshen him up there. But this is one that's ultra cool in terms of that rib design. A little different in terms of where we are in his design. One that I think as we study him, the cutability in this one is so cool and so neat. He's so high trim, and he's probably maybe a little closer to the leanness side for me than where I'd like to see him. That's the split between those two. But they're nice and they're awfully good and steady in terms of functionality, in terms of show go feel. They both got it. The 1 and 3 young lady, we just run up against some buzzsaws over here in the front end. Some more horses that were just tremendous in terms of their design. This one's got a good handle. We fed this one really well. Starts to get a little deeper in his chest. Those two are super clean through their chest. We're starting to get maturity and kind of get down deep in the chest. Same for the blonde-headed yoke next. We're really digging deep in this one's chest. We want to clean up to his chest floor. We've got a good handle, but I want to make this one step more level. He wants to get up in his top. We want him to relax and just be more level from the point of his shoulder back. The next goat's got a real high cutability. I'd like to see more bone underneath him. We get a little more leg underneath him. We get stepping him up. I think that one could work up. I like this thin height in this. Just didn't have as much true real muscle shape down his top as the ones in front of him. The next goat here for me, the speckle-heighted one, is one that I like in terms of look from a profile. There's just not enough muscle in him, young man, as the ones up in front of him, but you got a good job for getting that one fed. The next two goats, I think when these were younger, they were really neat to look at. They have a ton of rearage shape in them, lower quarter in them. They have a ton of top shape in them. They're just too fat today. We just got to trim them up. We've got to run them and exercise them. And if we can do that, they work their way up. Because there's a lot of good in these. We're just getting past our prime today. So both of them need a little more exercise. Next goat, young lady, Pete's got this one here, just likes the overall muscle. It's got a good bone work underneath it, really sound. We fed it well. Just naturally doesn't have the same kind of muscle shape as the other ones do. The next 3 goats are just too fat for me. They get way too fast past prime. We've got to run them and exercise them just to lean them up and have a little more higher cutability in these guys, and then we can be more competitive. But a nice set of goats, 2 real nice ones on the front end. Great kids. Give them all a round of applause for a job well done.
Yes, sir.
All right, our placings in class 4 are going to run like this. First place is Danica Walker. Second place is Bailey Walker. Third goes to Ronaldo Brady Lynn Ayala. Fourth goes to Amanda Renteria. Fifth, Jalen Esdoro. Sixth goes to Ernesto Consuela. Seventh is Tristan Miranda. Eighth is Destin Miranda. Ninth is Kinley Malden. 10th is Genesis Holland. 11th is Jalen Esdoro. And 12th is Carlos Alba. Okay, we need our first and second place goats to be coming in for our grand champion in all 4 of our Martin Goat classes. In our first class, first place goat is Brooklyn Kinsler. Our second place goat is Ronaldo Narvaez. Our class 2, first place is Danica Walker. And second place is Ruben Ayala. In our class 3, our first place is Carlos Ayala. And our second is Bailey Walker. And in our class 4, first place is Danica Walker. And second place is Bailey Walker. As soon as we get through with our crowning of our grand champion and reserve grand champion goat, we're going to take probably a 15, 20, maybe a 30-minute break, and And then we're going to move into our cattle show. So you guys be getting ready. Once as soon as we conclude this, we'll have 3 classes of cattle and 1 steers and 1 class of heifers. So you guys, we're going to roll through it pretty quick. So you guys be getting ready.
Well, as we get in to select our champion goat this afternoon, let's give all 8 kiddos a round of applause for a job well done. It's not easy to sort stock and find the ones that you like and get up here and try to take the time to explain everything. I feel like that for me, I need to take that extra time to explain things, and maybe you heard what I said and maybe you didn't, but I try to make sure that as we study them and explain things, I went down to each kid and said a few things, and that way you had understood whether you were first out the gate or last, what my opinion was. Like or not like, agree or disagree, that's okay. We're in a world where we don't all agree on the same things, and we're going to have differences of opinion. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if you want to know what did that guy like, take a look out here. The lineup is pretty set in terms of my style, from the lightweight all the way through to the heavier weight goats. The 2 lightweights for me, I won't talk individually, but as a group. They both had some shape and dimension to them. They both had some cutability in terms of muscle to fat ratio. The class winner had a little more cutability to that one. That one was handled a little better for me. That one is the one that had, as we studied it, that was the one that I liked in terms of freshness. One that if we changed anything, I wanted the second place to be a little more, have a little more trimness to it, was a little soft. I wanted the class winner to transition out of that last rib into a hip and transition just a little bit better. The second class, these goats here I thought were neat in terms of show ring presence. I thought they both could step off and you really study them. I thought the class winner could have a little more extension out its front 1/3, but tremendous rack, tremendous loin. One of the smoothest handling goats that we've had out here in terms of top shape. This is one that you like in terms of just body and rib and handle, super fresh. The yellow next goat that was in second, we talked, we just need more condition. The 2 here that were in third, these 2 goats, as we studied them and walked through them, or the third class rather, these 2 were ones that for me, as we studied them and looked at them and sorted through them, they're ones that they were good to look at, they had good handle to them. They were ones that for me, especially the class winner, that was one that I liked in terms of just extension. Took a little longer to sort those. It was one that for me that I liked in terms of where we were out of our last rib back. I want to just stout and freshen them up just a nickel more. Young man's getting in there and kind of getting a little more aggressive, and I like that. But that one, as we get him on the move, he's as pretty as anything out here. He's as cool as anything out here. He's as sound as anything out here. That one fundamentally was raised right in terms of how we bred that one. We've got to feed him and probably just get him a nickel firmer in terms of where we are on our handle. But that one's got the right kind of muscle shape for me, the right kind of design for me. I love him out his front 1/3 in terms of the way he looks. Then we get into the heavyweights as we sorted those, and then into the heavyweights. These are 2 that just had much more higher cutability for me. They were the ones that, as we studied them, they had some wow factor to them. They're the ones that they're just tremendous in terms of rack and loin. The advantage was a class winner that was just fresher and fuller in terms of where we are in condition, in terms of cutability, in terms of handle. That one was cooler at his front 1/3 and definitely smoother in the hip loin. That one there is just tremendous in terms of rib and body, high quality, both of them there, and several high qualities all the way through. I'm going to look one last time and then I'm going to shake the hand of our champion. Let's give them all one more round of applause for a job well done.
And our grand champion hog this year, goat this year, goes to Danica Walker. We are going to move our second place Class 4 winner, which belongs to Bailey Walker, into the reserve grand champion lineup.
Not for you. You still got a whole bunch of it.
Well, as we get into our reserve selection, and it comes down to 2 goats for me and the 2 here on the end in classes 3 and 4 rather. The second that comes in, we talked a little while ago where some changes were, and as it gets closer for me, I think that the winner kind of dominated this deal and was tremendous in terms of all the parts and pieces. But as we get out here and sort through the ones that are still eligible, these 2 here for me are ones that I just like in terms of design. I like in terms of the way that they just pattern as far as a show goat, in terms of structural soundness and get out and move and whatnot. We talked the differences and where I'd like to see. I'd like one to handle a little firmer. I'd like one to have a little more condition in his hip point. There's some give and take there. I'll give one last look and then I'll shake the hand of our reserve champion. Let's give them all a round of applause for a job well done.
And our reserve champion voted goes to Bailey Walker. All right, we're going to get our goats out of the show ring, and we're going to go ahead and award both our grand champion and reserve champion goat buckles. And we're also going to name our junior and senior showmanship recipients. So we'll be right back in just a minute.
Call out the finalists as we did yesterday. I picked 4 finalists, and then we will announce our winner. I will go ahead and do seniors first. Okay, so number 224, 219, 208, and 205. So please come forward. really did a good job out here, and judging showmanship like this is a little different when you don't bring them all back at the end. But, and some of you may say, especially you'll see, well, you had to be in the top end of your class, and that's not necessarily true. However, and I will tell you this, my mind was generally made up before our judge ever really started placing. And I would watch after that, and I could change my mind. But when you came in, and as you walked that goat, what you did in the first round, in the first setup, you pretty much can tell. And so it's very important. We teach a lot about first impressions, and the lessons that you learn to show are going to apply in a lot of ways in your life. But that really does matter. Now, you can work your way up from a bad impression, and you can work your way down. But I thought these 4 exhibitors did an outstanding job handling the goat, the things that I look for. Obviously, you've got to present that goat the way it needs to be presented. I had a couple that asked me, well, would you prefer to have them this way or that way, put them on your feet, hold them up, do this, do that. It's not about personal preferences. It's about getting the most out of that particular animal in that show ring on that day in that situation. So that's what I was looking for. Again, I wasn't hung up on one thing, one way or the other. There are definitely some things about showmanship that you got to do right, and some things you don't want to do. We're not going to get into each one of that. But in my opinion, the person today that presented their goat the best when they were in their class, exhibitor number 224. Congratulations.
Come in. You know how to come in? No? You sure? You look like you know how to come in. No? What about you? No? You want to try?
You should, right?
Yeah, you should. I think you do good. I'll give you half of what I get for your table.
Yes, give another round of applause. Good job there. I will say this, overall, I was impressed, and I am impressed with each show that I've seen so far. Y'all learned the Arkansas County show, everybody knows that, but the competition level is really high here. And the way the kids handle themselves is really high. You've got a really good set of animals and a great set of kids. And so what I've seen out here, you can stand up anywhere. And you've got a really good set of exhibitors who all need to be commended. All right, in the junior division, we'll have the following 4 finalists. Number 117, number 138, number 139, and number 103. These guys really put on a show out here today. These juniors are outstanding. I went back and forth, and I made this comment because we had 4 class winners here. When they lined up for the champion, there they were. So my mind was made up long before that. Like I said, when they were in their class, you could see how well they were doing. You could see how they handled their goats. And we all know these animals aren't born this way. It takes lots of hours in barn, lots of hours at home, working and getting those goats presented. And to me today, there was a person here that's just impeccable about getting that goat set up, shown, presented the best way. Young lady was in this one. Congratulations.
All right, we really appreciate Mr. Lanier coming in and judging our showmanship. And our senior goat showmanship goes to Rachel Dice. And our junior goat showmanship goes to Danica Walker. Let's give them one more round of applause for their hard work and we appreciate it. We would also like for you two ladies to stay in the arena because we are also going to today do our buckle presentation for our Grand Reserve Goat. All right, Danica, y'all two stay. All right, we are going to go ahead and do our buckle presentation for our Grand Champion and Reserve Champion goat. And we'll start with our Reserve Champion. And our Reserve Champion today is going to be Bailey Walker. That Grand Champion buckle donor was donated by Ernesto and Willie Galvan. That's Reserve. I'm sorry. They did do it, sorry. Jana and Clint Wolf donated the reserve, not Ernesto and Willie. And now for our Grand Champion, that goes to Danica Walker. And that buckle was donated by Ernesto and Willie Galvan. All right, we have got that done, and our goat show is over with. We are going to start our cattle show at 2 p.m. So that is about 10 minutes from now. 2 p.m. We will start with our class number 1 at 2 p.m. So you guys be getting ready, and we will get rolling with the cattle show. Also remind you one more time that if your animal makes the sale and your buyer chooses to process the animal, you need to have that animal up here at 9 a.m. on Monday morning. That way we can load them up and get them to the processor. Once again, that's 9 a.m. on Monday morning.
Can they see me?
So we are going to do that heifer exhibition first, and then we are going to start in our steers. We're going to go ahead and get the heifer knocked out first, and then we are going to move into our market steers. All right, in our heifer division, our superintendents are Raul Ayala, Ernesto Galvan, Trey Galvan. Sorry, we'll do that again. Superintendents are Raul Ayala, Ernesto Galvan, Trey Galvan, and Jack Alba. Once again, our judge is Mr. Carl McManus. Ribbon donors, Tim, Vicky, and Randy Hanks. Our grand champion banner donor is Mr. and Mrs. Garcia. Our reserve champion banner is donated by Scott and Diane Reese. Our grand champion buckle donor is Dr. Ralph and Kim Hoff. And our reserve champion buckle donor is Scott and Diane Reese. All right, our exhibitor in our American heifer class is going to be Jade Lozano. Alrighty, exhibitors, one more time. If you would please come up and get your wristbands so you will be allowed to enter tomorrow for the sale. Exhibitors, before y'all leave, you need to come get wristbands so you can be in the sale tomorrow.
Well, as we get into the cattle show, we're starting off with a heifer, and for the heifer show, and you know that's all that showed up, but we have quality that showed up, and I understand there may have been 8 or 10 that validated, and you know, just when you work that hard with a project, I commend this young lady for showing up. You never know who's going to be here and who's not. You don't worry about that. You just worry about your project. You do the work at home, and you come and you do your best. And if the rest don't show up, well, guess what? No matter what, once she's here, she winds up being our champion heifer today. But I'll talk a little bit about the female. She's a year old. Here in a few days, this Brahman female is one that's feminine. She's one that's got some body to her. You know, these things take a little time to mature out and get there. But I think that she's doing a great job. She's got some body condition to her. She's one that she's handling well in terms of the halter and not acting silly. Maybe a little nervous in the ring, but that's okay. She told me she didn't like the show stick too much, and my daughter showed for the first time this year, showed a heifer, and she was a bottle baby and grew quite a bit and got fairly large, and she was a little knucklehead too. Sometimes she would want to just not care for the stick, and so sometimes that happens, but young lady's doing a good job of getting her shown. But this female here, I think, deserves the honor, and she showed up, and I think she's good quality. Compliments to you, young lady. You are a champion heifer today. Let's give her a round of applause for her job well done.
Once again, our champion heifer in our 2021 Salle County Junior Livestock Show belongs to Miss Jade. It's Jade Lozano. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started in our Class 1 lightweight market steers. Our superintendents for our steer division are Raul Ayala and Ernesto Galvan. Once again, our judges Tom and Manis. Ribbon donors are Tim, Ricky, and Randy Hanks. Grand Champion banner is donated by George James and also the retired Grand Champion banner. Our Grand Champion buckle donor is JJ Roscoe Saloon and Boutique and G3 Cattle Company. Our Reserve Champion buckle donor is John and Judy Northcutt. Our Senior Showmanship buckle is Raul Ayala Trucking. And our Junior Showmanship buckle is donated by George James. Our exhibitors in Class 1 are Roberto Soto, Ravi Sanchez, Esteban Alba, Adrian Davis, and Ryan Sanchez.
He asked me well there, I was like, well, I'm gonna ask Scott. Scott with me like, is that okay? So I had to walk up and see mom. I said, we got more sand. Just so far on the corner round, it's actually learning more sand.
I don't know what to do.
I'm just going to sand and go like,
I think I should have left now. I can still do it.
No, I look good.
You look like you. Come on, man.
I was watching this actually on your favorite series.
And now it's just starting to get it. So
last
it's
one,
like,
makes this lot.
I'm shooting and
I'm
regular goes into like commercial life, like
here and there.
I guess it's it's like a commercial.
Y'all's house up there too.
And see
Y'all's house is ready to go next. Y'all got tankers, y'all got some. No, we got a tank. It's outside. Look into it called Livestock. Those tankers, you won't be able to get one. They're on back after everybody. No, this is for your tank plug. Livestock. Goes on.
All right, as we get into this first class of skiers, a lot of variations. We get down here to the lightweights, getting into just a nickel over 1,000 into mid-11s. We're going to start with this yellow steer down here for me. He's the most complete young man brings us. One that's attractive at his front 1/3, one for me that lays in his shoulder right in terms of angles, one that has a ton of shape and dimension. And then we get our hands on him. We're not disappointed in terms of freshness to the turn of his loin. He's really fresh and big. He's got the right rib shape. I like in terms of his growth pattern. He's one that in terms of where he is in his pattern or his size and scale, the cutability of him is really good, and I like that about him. So there's a good logical one we use to come in here and win this class. A nice one there the young man brings us. The decision was for me two more challenging between 2 and 3. The baldy cap the young man brings us and winds up in 2 is one that just has more to him. There's more shape and dimension down his top. He's got a fresher handle, and the freshness is what I'm talking about as where we sorted these two here. I'll be the first to admit there's maybe not as much shape and dimension in that hip and down into that lower quarter, but for me he's one that's more extended and attractive to his front 1/3. He's got a little more growthier pattern. He's not coming out too early to be in this range of 11 or 11 and a half. So that cap for me suits me in terms of where he's at. I definitely like to give him a shot for a stackle. I'd like to give him a little more bone work, but I think he balances well. But his handle down his top and that extra extension out the front 1/3 gets him into the 2 hole. The yellow steer that's in 3 is a little earlier maturing for me. I'd like to see a little more growth pattern or carry a little more condition up to that front 1/3 and that belt and really just that internal heart region. We just get a little more fat and that's just starting to cut out. I think that for me, I'd like to just see with a more growth pattern. Give him a little more extension. He's starting to get coarse through the shoulder in his neck, and I want to just extend him just a nickel more. The black paint cap is one that just kind of falls in between the ones that have a little more power and the ones that maybe don't have enough groceries in them or don't have enough style. This one here's got bone work. This one's got some body and some rib. I want a little more comfort in him. I want a little more gloominess to him. He's a good feeding kind of cat. I love him in terms of his footwork. He's really stout and rugged. We just need more shape on top to make him more competitive. But that one there, I think if we got aggressive and fed him, he could be competitive. I like that cat quite a bit. Super sound and rugged. You have to appreciate that. The tall frame, grade steer, Brahmin influence, one that I like in terms of extension and length of spine. One that's just gets a little too tight rib for me today, young man. We just need more body in that one. These kind of cattle sometimes that we have to, people will shake their head in my county. They get cattle and we want to give them a little more body, so we either wet feed them or add water to their feed to kind of just stretch that gut. This guy here, if we could just stretch his gut and give him about 4 or 5 more inches depth of flank, this one could balance up more and not be so leggy appearing, and we could run him up there. I like him in terms of cutability. I like his look. We just don't have enough center body in that guy. We can include the calf that has a little more body in him. He's just too restricted off his rear too. We're really straight. We're a little harder doing in terms of our top. When we go to handling him, I just want to give him a little more softness and more in terms of where we're at. He just is too hard over his rib and definitely is too straight off those rear too. But a nice set of cattle to get our steer show up started with. Let's give all these kids a round of applause for a job well done.
And our placings in our Class 1 market steers. First place goes to Ryan Sanchez. Second place is Esteban Alba. Third goes to Roberto Soto. Fourth goes to Adrian Davis. Fifth, Esteban Alba. And sixth, Robbie Sanchez. Our middleweight class, Class 2 of steers. You guys be getting ready. Class 2 exhibitors are going to be Robert Sanchez in third, Araceli Valles, Dene Garcia, Robert Sanchez the third, and Jade Lozano. waiting for class 2 to get lined up and coming in. Once again, tomorrow, our sale, our buyer's reception starts at 1 o'clock, and our sale will start at 2. You do not need to bring animals back, just bring your prizes and yourself, and we will sell that to our buyers. Also, if your buyer purchases your animal and wishes to have it processed, you will need to have your animal back up here by 9 a.m. on Monday morning. That way you can haul it to the processor for you.
Get yourself that flower right here a little bit. Hey, that's a great gun I'm used to seeing you toting around. What's that, a 400? Or 6? 6?
All right, as we get in this next class of cattle, two that rises to the top fairly quick for me in terms of just some look and some balance. About probably 90 pounds difference between these cattle or so, 80 pounds, whatever it was. The gray steer for me is just when we get back on him and put our hands on him, he's the one that just excels. He's one that's got, he's just got a fresher touch to him. When you run your hands down his top, he's ultra smooth. He's big backed. He's one that's super level. When he gets him stuck there, that young man does a great job of getting that calf really dialed in and set up right. He's one for me that he's not overpowering in any way, shape, or form. He's really smooth and balanced up. He ties that head at the point of the shoulder for me as well. And that's just a calf that I like, maybe that little belly. He can have maybe a little extra belly in him, and we can lose that. And that's where we maybe get a little more style in the black calf. But that one's just the complete one who moves better off his rear too and handles smoother down his top and especially over the rib. The black calf for me was one that I just dialed in immediately when he came in. That's my style when it comes to look and design. He's one that wants to just get a little tight off those rear too, and when we really get our hands on him, he's just a little more disappointing because he gets drier over his rib and harder to touch and handle over those ribs. We just got to get him a little fatter. And it's not just because of days on feed and age. That calf there just needs a little more extra freshness to him over those ribs, and then we can have a little smoother handle. It's not beneath me to go grab a calf that has that much variance in weight, and so it doesn't come down to that whatsoever. I don't care what size they are. They've got to have a cool look. They've got to be able to have a really fresh handle to me, and I want them to be sound if we can grab that in a class. And so that's where we split those two, but I think they're a nice pair, although the most obvious thing is there's a pound's difference, but other than that, there's some neat traits about both of them. I love the black calf in terms of where he ties that neck at the front of his shoulder. He's got a really good extension about him. He's cool. We just want him to move off the rear too. The yellow steer is the attractive one in the bunch. At times we let that head down and we get him up, and especially when he moves, he just kind of shows himself off. He just doesn't have the total pounds of product over on the top end of his skeleton. As we study him, there's just not the shape and dimension down his skeleton that the other two in front of him have. He's a balanced kind of a calf, good feet and legs, good body. I like that about him. We just need to power him up to be able to be as more competitive. If we do, he can be really competitive and work his way up because he's very sound and functional. He's got that added look. The two gray steers that complete the class. The next one for me, this one gets too coarse and straight out his front end for me, gets a little more rounded to that chest floor. He's got more body in him, but he's one as we put our hands on his top. He's almost sticky-like feeling when we get our hands on him. He's more inconsistent in terms of that finish and that design in him. As we get our hands on him, he really just kind of gets more patchy in terms of where we are with our condition and our finish. He's one that he's big-ended, and I like that. And ones that get this big-ended, they gotta have a smooth look from the side, and he does have that about him. It's his front 1/3 that I like to change the most and set him back a little bit more, clean through the chest, and give him a little more fresher handle to his top shape. The calf that concludes the class is one that's really extended and attractive, really clean in terms of joints, really level, just doesn't have the pounds of product in him, especially the amount of top shape in him as the other cattle do. But a nice one that she's done a good job feeding out. Great set of kids, good cattle. Let's give them all a round of applause for a job well done.
Our placings in our middleweight class 2 of market steers go like this. First place goes to Robert Sanchez III. Second place, also Robert Sanchez III. Third, I.S.D. Fourth, Dene Garcia. And fifth, Jay Lozano. as we get these steers from our Class 2 moving on out. Class 3, you guys be getting ready. We'll bring y'all straight in. These will be the heavyweight market steers. Our exhibitors in our Class 3 of heavyweight steers are going to be Adrian Davis, Juan Suarez IV, Grace Triplett, Emily Velasquez, Elia Ramirez, and Emily Velasquez. Once again, if you are showing an animal for somebody else that's not yours, please be sure and remove your exhibitor number. That way we know that you are not showing your animal at this point in time.
Let's get this up. His lowest bid is 250. So it's 250 and 590.
tough decision, and I'm not going to apologize for taking my time because I got to sort through and find the one that when I drive home and I think about, and that's the right one for me. And as we study these two, these pair up quite well for me in terms of heavyweights. I think both these two white influence cattle are both real nice type. The one that wins it for me, the young lady in purple, this calf just adds a little more wow factor. He's a little cleaner through his front 1/3. He's a little more attractive and extended there. He's one for me that when I put my hands on him, he's got a little higher cutability. He's leaner to the touch. He's got plenty of condition for him for this weight range. He's one that I love in terms of how he's been fed and that cutability. Maybe we can have a little more body in him and feel him just a bit, but when I put my hands on him, I'm surely not disappointed. I love him to the touch. I love him when we get him out on the move and we get him to walk, and he's got an advantage because his joints are smoother, especially off the rear too. He's got cleaner joints in terms of where we are right at those hocks, in the front of those hocks. He wants to just smooth it and get a little cleaner in terms of where his joints are, so he's the balanced, complete one for me. And like I said, we could probably have a little more body or fluid in him just to fill him out just a nickel. That's the advantage in the steer too. I really like him when we stand off of him. When we get our hands on him, he wants to get a little peaked and soft right in behind the front shoulder. He's one for me as we get him on the move. He wants to push a couple of pockets right in front of the hop, on the front side of those hops. I just want to clean him up through his joints a little bit. I also want to extend him and give him some a little more extension and attractiveness out that front 1/3, because as he's starting to cut out and get done, he's also putting a little more depth in that breast bit and getting a little deeper and gets a little unbalanced as we step off of him when we step him down on those lower lines. But on the top lines, he's really attractive. These are two really solid kind of cattle that I like on the top end. This heavyweight deal compliments to both young ladies. They've done a good job on the stick. The paint steer that comes third, this is one that hit me so well as he came in the ring. He's one that's ultra cool in terms of where we steady him and extended and attractive, but with that comes a little more bolder shoulder, one that really, as you come in right behind him, put your hands on him, he wants to just really come off and get deep right in behind his front shoulder and get hard to the touch. I want to get him more cover in him. I want to get more back cover so we can just go ahead and have a smoother transition out that bold front shoulder. He's also one that at times wants to get a little straight off his hop too on those rear two, so I just want to give him a little more flex to that hop as we get him out on the move. But this one's ultra cool to look at. Square out of his hip, probably not as much true real shape as the two in front of him. The biggest thing is I want to give him more condition to give him a little more smoothness and freshness to the handle right in behind his front shoulder. The red calf's a real good feeding kind of a calf. One for me, he wants to get too soft in his top line. We want to just freshen him up down that top shape just to go ahead and give him a little more level top in him to be more competitive. And then the two white steers that include the class, both steers that have some shape and dimension, they just get PC for me. We get a little more open in our chest. They want to dip out their top line, so we want to just freshen them up there and just use them in a more youthful appearance than the cattle that win the class. But a real nice set of cattle, two real nice ones on the top end. Great kids. Give them all a round of applause for a job well done.
All right, our placings in our class 3 of heavyweight steers. First place goes to Laya Ramirez. Second, Emily Velasquez. Third is Grace Triplet. Fourth is Emily Velasquez. Fifth is Juan Suarez the fourth. And sixth goes to Adrian Davis. All right, what we need to do right now is we need to get our class winners and second place from each of our 3 classes. So out of class 1, our lightweight steers, we need Ryan Sanchez and for first place, and Esteban Alba for our second place. Class 2, we need Robert Sanchez for this first place, and Robert Sanchez for the second place. And then our class 3 heavyweight steers will be Laya Ramirez and Emily Velasquez.
Could she help me show my black cat?
There's nothing in that piece, right? No, I didn't. Thank you.
Well, as we get in here and select our grand and reserve steer, before we go any further, let's give these kiddos a round of applause for a job well done. They've worked hard all year. I know firsthand that cattle projects are definitely a year-long project, and so with that comes a little bit of opportunity to say some thank yous to some folks. I think that, again, I said it yesterday, but I'll reiterate it today. And those local officials, the volunteers that are here, I think before we go into local officials, the volunteers to make sure that the show ran smoothly the last 2 days. I think that all of those committee members and board members, they deserve a round of applause. So let's reward them and thank them for all that they've done. maroon shirts, the khaki shirts. Yeah, they do a great job. But then we go into our local officials, our health department, our sheriff's department, local PD, the county, whether it's county commissioners, city commissioners, the county judge, whoever it may be, they play a role in this. And it wasn't an easy decision. I know firsthand. In Oasis County, we had the same thing go on, and we had to have special liberties and special privileges to allow for it, and we were grateful for it. We had to have a non-traditional show, but we got to have a show, and that's all that mattered. And so I am thankful for our local officials in Oasis County that allowed us and saw the value in the kids, and so I think it holds true here that we should give them all a round of applause for seeing the worthy in these kiddos. So let's thank our local officials for allowing us to have our county stock show, because without them, this time of year it may not be. There are some shows that are not. So I compliment them and thank them. I did it yesterday, and it's important. I also want to recognize the photographer here. She's done a tremendous job, and sometimes those are folks that, yes, that it's a business and they're taking photos, but don't forget about them. We've got to support our local small businesses, and those are someone that's working day in and day out. I've watched her. She's made sure not to get in my way when I'm working around these arenas the last 2 days, but she's done a darn good job. And so y'all take the time, because if you want that moment captured, you need to support someone like that. You got to take time and buy those photos. It's important. And she's here to do a job, and she's doing it good. But I would say y'all make sure and take time to look at the photos and get some photos from her, because she's out here working hard to get your child in that perfect moment and not just on the fence with a camera phone. And so I wanted to recognize her and let y'all know to remember about her as we go about this day. The cattle that lay out in front of us, as we sorted through them, the first place here, starting with the yellow cap that won that class, that one there just kind of grabbed a hold to me pretty quickly and grabbed my attention. He's one that's very complete. I think that yellow steer definitely needed to win that class there. He was really didn't have much competition, by the way, when he comes in with that kind of quality there. That steer, I love him in terms of balance. I love him when we step off and study him in terms of just the sheer look that he's got from the side. That when we get our hands on him, he probably, for me, gets a little more soft and spongy. We've got him to get he's a little quicker in terms of his maturity, so he's starting to put a little more condition. Probably requires a little more retail trim in terms of when he hang a carcass on the rail, but he's good. He looks good. He handles what fresh enough for me. If I changed him anywhere, I should have liked to probably just trim him up just a nickel for me. The great steer that wins the middles, that one's cool. When you step off, you really study him, the body that he's got and the look that he's got from the side. It's hard to put a neck and design in that one. He can be a little more extended, but clean and useful off that front 1/3, ties high in the point of that shoulder. Young man does a real nice job on the stick and getting that one shown. That kind of a calf is hard to find when you get that much shape and dimension in him, yet still maintain a cool hip and a look from the side, and he's real sound and gets out of moves on a good set of feet and legs. I like that one and that one there. As we talked about, rivaled the black calf there that was the American Influence calf, but he just had a little more weight on him. He also had a much smoother handle and condition, and so therefore he won that class for me, and it was a nice one there to see in. And then we get into heavyweight. Those two cattle, I studied them long and hard to make sure that the right one got up here in my mind, and the one that I liked. And I talked about what the differences were, but the one that's here, he's one that's high cutability. I like that about him. He's one that's got some body in him and some shape and some dimension. As we study him and get him out here, is he as smooth as a two cap in front of him? No, probably not. He's not as stacked as the yellow cap for sure, but he has enough cover for me, and I like that about him. But as we study him, he gets a little more bolder out of his shoulder. He's one that as we study him, he probably gets a little tighter in that heart region in comparison to the silver cap in front of him, especially. And so there are some differences there, but I think he balances well for me. I like him in terms of his cutability. I like him in terms of extension in front 1/3. I like that about him as well. And so it gets close to my decision in terms of where we're at amongst some cattle out here. I'll go through one more time and handle them, and then we'll shake the hand of our champion, bring out our second, and make our reserve decision as well. Give him one more round of applause for a job well done.
the grand champion steer for the 2021 show goes to Robert Sanchez. You're going to have to get Robert's second place steer in the lineup, but unfortunately you cannot win both grand and reserve. So we only have 2 calves left in the run. And our reserve grand champion goes to I.S.D. Congratulations to you guys.
All right, as we made that selection for our reserve, and I talked about it in that class, that one there is just really nice to look at, really complete and balanced kind of a calf, not overpowering, but one that you just really got to study in terms of cutability, one that's really fresh down its top. And as it came down to the yellow steer I talked, the yellow steer's just cutting down too thick for me, getting a little too fat, and there's the advantage over it. It's got a little more pounds of product. Nice set of cut on there for us to use our champion reserve. One more round of applause for a job well done for these kiddos.
Thank you, Judge McManus. We really appreciate your hard work. I know you had a tough decision on a lot of these classes, and you worked hard for us. We appreciate it. Let's give Judge McManus a great round of applause for 2 days of hard work for us. We really appreciate it coming on board from Wilson County. All right, we're going to go ahead and move into our awards for our steer show, and also do our showmanship. All right, once again, we're going to do our showmanship for our steer division, and Mr. John Lanier will be giving you his selections. We also thank him, give him one round of applause, because he did a hard job. He also was our 6th judge, so he's been here about 2 days as well, and we're getting it done. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, again, it's been enjoyable to be here and watch your kids, and as I said earlier, you've got a really a nice show here with a great set of kids, and we're going to recognize a few more here one more round. In the steer showmanship, again, if you watch what happened, you saw all the cattle are handled well. It's not always that way, especially at county show level, and all these exhibitors did a nice job. There wasn't any really unruly steers, and they all did a really good job. We're going to recognize a few of them in particular. In the junior division, let's have number 133 and 137 come forward. You're still out there. These are your 2 finalists in the junior division, and what I was looking for, obviously, I've said it in each of the species, is getting that animal presented to the best of its ability. You know, there's definitely some do's and don'ts, but again, this doesn't happen by accident. Lots of hours out there with these animals, presenting that, you know, being calm, cool, collected, using your show ring the right space you got, your lineup against your animals next to you. But feet placement goes a long ways for me. That animal's got to be presented, and every animal's a little bit different. So these guys got to learn, and they've got to do it what's right for that animal on that day. Today, your winner's going to be number 137. Congratulations. Give her one more round. Okay, in the senior division, number 212, number 227, number 222. Yes, give him a hand. Give him a hand. He did a really nice job here. Got one more coming. There she is. They handled these steers really well. I thought it was pretty tight here in this division. You could have gone several different ways here. Again, all these guys have probably, I'm not sure how long they've been showing, but of course they're seniors, so you expect a lot out of them. And they handled those cattle really well. You could tell they knew what they were doing, had them presented well. Overall smoothness, and just getting that calf stuck time after time after time. Number 227. He almost blew it because he didn't have his number on when he was in the class, but anyway, he got it out there.
All right, we'd like to thank Mr. Lanier one more time for judging our showmanship, being our civ judge. Our junior beef showmanship recipient is Grace Triplett, and our senior showmanship recipient is Robert Sanchez. Okay, before we get the barn completely cleared, Mr. Galvan is going to need some help from some of our exhibitors to go move the chairs to bring them in here for our sale tomorrow. So we need some volunteers from some of our exhibitors. If you guys would help out setting up chairs in the show ring for our sale individuals tomorrow, we would greatly appreciate it. All right, now we need our Grand and Reserve. All right, we need to get our Grand and Reserve steers recipients and our Heifer exhibitor that won Grand to come back in the ring so we can do our buckle presentations.
Robert. We're gonna do the buckles now. Oh, and the heifer. Isn't that good? They're gonna do it. But now you got all we gotta do is start.
All right, we're going to start off with our Heifer division first. And in our Heifer division, our champion heifer goes to Jay Lozano. Our Heifer division is Dr. Ralph and Kim Hoff. We appreciate their donation. All right, we're going to go to our steer division now, and our buckle donors in our reserve champion are John and Judy Northcutt, and our reserve champion goes to Renata Ramirez. And now our grand champion goes to, the buckle is donated by T&J Red Door Salon and Boutique and G3 Cattle Company, and our recipient is Robert Sanchez. All right, any goat exhibitors left and steer exhibitors. You guys, if you have not picked up your wristbands for the sale tomorrow. You need to come up here to the announcer stand and do it, or you will not be allowed to enter tomorrow. So you need to pick up your wristbands, goat and steer exhibitors both. You need to come up here and get your wristbands if you have not done it yet. Once again, our sale starts at reception starts at 1 o'clock tomorrow, and our sale starts at 2. Do not bring your animals back up. Just bring your prizes that you win, and we will sell your animals and yourself up here on the show block. So we will see you guys tomorrow. Once again, also, if we have any volunteers, Mr. Gavon needs help moving those chairs so we can get set up for our sale tomorrow. So any volunteers, go ahead and come up here as